This is a code walkthrough for the example file SelectionIf.java. So what we're doing in this file is we're setting up a default ticket price of $10, prompting the user using scanner for an input age, and then we're comparing that age to 65 to see if a potential 25% senior discount can be applied. We do this only if a particular condition is true, so this is a perfect candidate for a simple if structure. So let's go ahead as always and compile this code, and we'll set a breakpoint on main, and we'll single step through it a couple times just to demonstrate the path of execution. So we're setting up a scanner, we're setting up a format with 2 decimal places that we'll use later, setting up an age and a ticket price, prompting for the age. So let's start with an age that's clearly that of a senior. How about 70 years old? So here we're asking a question. Is the age 70 greater than or equal to 65? Yes or no? Well, obviously that's going to be true, so the next statement that executes is this next one inside the block. And we're simply multiplying the ticket price times 0.75 using this arithmetic shortcut operator. So now the ticket price is reduced to $7.50, and we're simply echoing out the age and the resulting ticket price using this format string and this format specifier. Pretty simple stuff. So let's run through this one more time with a different age. So we'll go through, and again we'll prompt for the age. Let's give a younger age. How about 45? We'll read that in. And now we're asking the question, is 45 greater than or equal to 65? Well, obviously the answer to that is no. So notice what happens this time with the simple if statement. We're going to skip this statement block entirely and jump down to this final printout. This statement is going to get executed regardless of the outcome of this selection case. So we're going to print out the age of 45 and the full price of $10. Next, I'm going to go ahead and clear this output pane, take away this breakpoint, and I want to use this example to demonstrate a couple other gotchas that frequently crop up when using the if selection structure. So one thing we never want to do when setting up conditions is putting a semicolon like this at the end of a condition. Because what we're doing here is we're setting up an empty if block, and this entire block is going to get executed no matter what. So let's compile this and run it, and let's put in an age of 65, and we get the discount as expected. But let's run this again for a younger age, say 40, and notice that the discount was applied even though we didn't intend it. That's because by adding this semicolon, we made this sort of a standalone empty if case, followed by this block here, which always gets executed. So never put a semicolon after your condition. Next, I'm going to go ahead and clear the output window, restore this code to what it was before, compile it, and I want to demonstrate one more thing. Remember that we said that in the case where there was a single statement inside an if block, these enclosing curly braces were optional. Well, that's true. We can save this, compile it, run it, and let's run it for 2 ages, 65 and let's say 45, and we get the correct result in each case. But let's say we wanted to now add additional statements to this if block. Let's imagine, for example, that in a case of a senior, maybe we wanted to recoup some of that discount with a special senior-only surcharge. I'm not advocating that we do that to our seniors, but just for purposes of illustration, let's imagine that we're doing that. So let's add on 50 cents to the ticket price after the discount for seniors. And we can save this, compile it, run it for a senior, and now you're paying $8 instead of $7.50. That works great. But let's say we're going to test this now with somebody younger, again, say a 40-year-old, And notice what happens. Now that younger person is also paying this discount, but we didn't mean for that to happen. Clearly it's inside the if block. Why is this happening? What's going on here is that this second statement is actually outside of the if block. This first statement alone is part of the if block, but the second statement gets executed no matter what. And even though it looks like it should be part of the if case, it's indented just like the other statement, it's always getting executed. But this kind of thing can be a little bit difficult or subtle to spot. And this is really where the debugger really shines. This is why you want to make the debugger your friend, because with a debugger we can run through this code line by line, and we'll prompt for an age, and we'll put in a young age, and we can clearly step through this code. Here we're assuming that these next two lines are going to get skipped, but if we run through with the debugger, we can see in fact that we are executing this line, though we don't intend to. Oh, we forgot about the braces. So for that reason, it's a good idea. Let me first finish running this. For that idea, it's always a good idea to include these braces on your if, even if there's only one statement, because as we've just shown, it makes it easier to add subsequent statements to the if case logic. So as part of the coding standard for this class, always add these braces to your if statement. And I guess the takeaway lesson here is to make friends with your debugger, because it really shines in finding these kind of logic problems in your code. I'll go ahead and restore this file, but you should also feel free to do this kind of experimentation on your own with these examples that are provided, because if you muck them up, you can always download a new one. So don't hesitate to play around with it in the manner we just showed.